Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Because Football podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Bagley, and today we've got something a little bit different, a different type of vision, a way of building connection between a football club and its community. And I love so many things about this. I love first of all, just the very unique nature of this project. I love the mix of the visual mixed with experience. We're going to get a lot more into the details here, but what we're talking about is what I would say is probably they'll be able to confirm, but probably the first ever instance I've heard of having an artist in residency project, designer and artist project with a football club. And I think the really special thing is that it's not a globally recognized brand yet, although they're working on that. It's a club in essentially the 9th level of English football, the 5th of the non-league itself. So today we are joined by the voluntary designer and artist in residence of Brislington FC. We've got Ken, Borg and Jonathan Kelham. Lads, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Very excited. And if you might have seen, and hopefully maybe you're the way that our data works these days, maybe after you listen to this podcast, you're going to get recommendations for the club and for their Instagrams, because I had found them first through a great feature the BBC did. And I was like struck by, again, kind of the very unique vision here that you guys have done. But first, before we get into it and all the details, tell us a little bit about yourselves. I love to start with this question of the first memory of football. So
I think it's either one of two memories. One was going to see my dad's team, which is Sheffield United. He's a season ticket for Sheffield United. And Bolton, it was Bolton at home at Bramall Lane. And I just remember not being able to see anything. That was it, because I was so small. So I just saw legs. Basically, that's all I watched. I watched a lot of people's legs. But that was great, and I guess maybe the energy of that kind of space, and like the fact that there were all of this mass of people walking in one direction, and I'm basically just holding my dad's hand and hoping not to get lost. That's probably my first memory, I think, of football. Yeah, I don't know how that made me an artist or what, but I guess maybe just that sense of energy and a space that people are kind of moving through. And I've never made any work about legs, but maybe
yet
be that.
This could be that moment.
Maybe,
this could be
maybe
that
I've
moment
just realised.
reflect.
Maybe that's what's just happened. I've just put that together. But yeah.
My first memory of football, I think, was more kind of watching on TV, I suppose. It was kind of like circa USA 90. I think that's one of the things that I liked about football the most, was the kind of like visual side. I mean, especially that era is very kind of like graphically rich, both in terms of like kit and emblems. Even like the USA 94 logo is just kind of like imprinted in my mind in a sense. So yeah, I think that was probably watching Roberto Baggio miss the final penalty is kind of like the first massive memory.
Drama.
Yeah.
Drama.
Yeah, but then locally, I spent my first 24 years of my life living in Malta, which is a very tiny island off the coast of Italy. So football back then in Malta was kind of quite similar to sort of this level of non-league, or it had that sort of kind of like slightly more less polished, more approachable sort of feel to it. So yeah, this kind of feels quite like home to me in a sense. I kind of so remember friends, dads taking me to local football games and that sort of thing. And yeah, there was always kind of like distinct nature between watching local football that's a bit more approachable, and then on TV watching sort of, Serie A and
big football,
big football, on telly. So yeah. And going to the answering the question about how I got into graphic design or wanted to become a designer, I think, the 90s and particularly like football graphics was quite a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I was really interested in that. So yeah, I think it's almost kind of like a natural thing that I got into football and also started getting really interested in like visual language at the same time. So yeah.
The the legs and the swarm of people is actually one that whenever I talk to a lot of our UK based guests actually comes up a lot, of like just being kind of in this mass of people, and that energy is something really special. But I think that's kind of the amazing thing about the game, is that it can offer you, like, if we want to do the big football, which I agree with, in the production and the visuals of that. Where did this idea come from? Because would you agree that this is one of the few designer, artist in residence projects you've seen for a football club? I mean, again, and I think you can probably educate us in the audience. There's might be a blending, but we hear a lot about branding, right? And we know about like the football kits and all these things, but it's definitely a different approach when we look at that bigger football model, right? Or even just some of the ways that you guys are trying to freshen up, liven up the match day experience and just the club's image and identity around Bristol. But yeah, how did this kind of come to be, and what made you actually act on this?
I mean, I think as far as we know, it's quite a unique sort of angle and quite a unique concept. Like if there are any other residencies going on, please get in touch, because we'd love to have a blueprint.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, little mastermind.
How did it start? I mean, it goes back to your previous project.
So I was always desperate to try and find a way where I could get my art practice into some kind of football context, or vice versa. And for 15 years, I didn't do anything like that. And I guess partly that was because there's a relationship to football within the art world and academia that's a bit like off-putting, or a particular kind of political viewpoints or whatever. So it never really mirrors up. 4 or 5 years ago, I was commissioned to produce a residency at a community space in Brislington, at St Anne's House. And the project I was going to do was basically become an ultra for a Sunday League football team, the worst Sunday League football team that I could find in St Anne's, which is like an inner city parish in the greater Brislington area, which is a south bit of Bristol. And as I was doing my research to kind of put this proposal in together, I realised there wasn't a fucking football club. There wasn't one in the whole of St Anne's, which has got about 12,000 people.
Not even Sunday League. That seems
not even
like
Sunday League. Nothing.
That's going to be more rare than artist residence for football clubs.
Well, possibly, and that was all because the structures and the kind of infrastructure had been taken away, and so the project kind of became about that and talking about the history of where the clubs went and how the demise, but also then. I kind of made a fictional club, a new club for St Anne's, and made merch and shirts and
some wild kits,
wild jazzy kits, very over the top. Speculated on what could be a football club. If there was a new club happening, what would happen? There was a podcast where it was like 30 years in the past and then 30 years in the future, and tried to kind of, I guess, just talk about, raise awareness of the fact there wasn't a club now, and then what was the potential for a club to happen. So it was kind of based around that sense of community action, of kind of pride in clubs and sports things representing that area. Anyway, I was in the middle of, I think I was, Posca-penning a foosball table, as you would, and Ken came into the residency space and said, this is not absolutely rubbish, but also, have you been to see the actual football club that is down kind of in the area of Brislington? And so I guess that's where we then made a pact to come and watch a Bris game.
And this was, for me at least, it was kind of maybe 7 years into living in Brislington. So it took me quite a long time to actually get myself up here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really explain why. I think when we then did come up and watch a couple of games, I think maybe that sort of question then became almost a reason why to try and, like, there must be also a lot of other people in an area that's like, so 30,000 people. Why did it take me so long to come up here?
Mm-hmm.
And this must be happening to other people as well. So let's try, maybe we could do something here. And then obviously also, like in terms of kind of like from the visual side, it's, being sat on the stand, and it's quite easy. Like, I think we're both like very visual people, so it's easy to kind of be in a space and start thinking like, we could do that, or imagine if this was here, or imagine if that looks slightly different.
And that was just us kind of going, that would be great if you could do that thing, or imagine if that had happened. I guess we both we're thinking, how could we help the club out to use those skill sets to kind of help the club and to kind of, I think, at this level, which is probably why there aren't many artist, designer in residence happening. It's all about frugal, functional, as long as we're kind of able to facilitate the games and get people through the turnstile, that's like the kind of the bread and butter. And anything maybe where you're considering aesthetics or the matchday experience is lavish, which is very much most people's relationship to art design anyway. So I guess we were kind of paralleling a lot of the social.
There's definitely some like opposites here and some almost paradoxes at play. I think from what I know, and I've still never been to an official non-league match, but just through, we've had on the podcast, whether it's like just consuming that type of media throughout my life, there's always just like this mystique and aura about it, but it's largely because the not only like the hyper local nature of it, but more it's almost like the phrase, a face only a mother could love. Like it's sort of like that, like when you go, I imagine, go to these matches, like it's the bare bones, like you said, financially there's not a ton of resources. The beautiful thing is that it is driven and survives through volunteerism, people giving, but there's not those extra resources to make things lavish or even maybe like above average in terms of convenience and comfort and aesthetic. And again, that's almost like the thing that you come to love about it. But there is also that, maybe this is coming from like the American background, where I've always had this philosophy of like, hey, how do we kind of like grow the game? How do we kind of convince and show other people how amazing this game is and get them on board and involved and whatever that looks like? And it kind of feels like there's a little bit of that element to what you guys were doing too, of like, hey, we do have something, we have this, essentially it's a community asset, right? It happens to be a football club, but why are even us, if we love football, why did it take us so long to get here? Why do we not even know about it? But I'm curious, the conversation and the initial approach to the club leadership of like, hey, we have this idea. What do you guys think? How is that conversation? How many follow-ups did that take?
I mean,
well, before we even approached, it took us months to kind of like decide how to do it.
Yeah.
Because again, like exactly what we're discussing now, we were kind of like playing these scenarios in our minds, like, how can we justify either like resources or energy, the club redirecting resources and energy to like something that could potentially not really like
be fruitful.
Be fruitful or like look like it's kind of a priority when a club is, I don't know, like prioritizing
so many
like
needs, right?
Like paying wages and utility bills, that sort of thing. It's like, we and we're sort of going there, approaching it. We'd like, we'd like to repaint the stand. It's like, it's not high on the list. So we did spend quite a bit of time kind of like strategically trying to come up with a way to do it. And I think we sort of then decided that it should probably be almost like a taster project. And I guess at this point, we hadn't even really honed it down to a residency. We were just kind of like, it'd be really nice to do a creative project with the club.
Yeah, of course.
So I guess that's where the flags came in. I work at Bath University as a senior lecturer there in the School of Art and Design, and was able to get some money, essentially, some research money. And essentially, as one of the places we walked, as you walk into Iron Lane, just grey. Sheets and sheets of grey. Cladding,
corrugated steel and everything. Yeah.
And so I kind of approached them to say, look, I've got some money from, you're not going to put anything in. I'll produce this series of flags that will go on the back of here. The idea is that it, increases the visuals. It kind of adds a bit more atmosphere. They move around, so that's kind of a static thing. And I'm pretty sure I was ghosted for at least 5 emails, or trying to kind of get something from the club. Just
I can imagine being like a fly on the wall in the chair and everything. Like, these artists are at it again. Like, I've got to think
in
like,
that committee meeting when it was
the
raised,
sprinkler
like,
system's broken. Like,
yeah. And I think it was also like, it just doesn't happen. People aren't volunteering. There's a lot less volunteering going on. The idea of somebody approaching and saying, I'll do something for free. It's
kind of like, where's the catch? Sort of.
Where is the catch? And I think that also, that act of citizenship is definitely diminishing, and it's becoming less of a requirement for people, or just like something that's ingrained in us, our social structures. I was doing all the risk, I think, because I put the flags up there, got it agreed. Yeah, we'll do it.
I was just in the background, just going like,
You were
yeah,
just
go for it.
Go for it. Go for it. And I guess when we put them up, what was great is that the groundhoppers then kind of caught onto them. So it wasn't necessarily the club. Oh, it was the club as well.
Actually,
but I think it was a combination.
Was that you put in all the effort, and then
Yeah.
it was like a pre-season friendly.
Yeah.
And I decided to come up with a couple of friends that I had been saying like, you must come up, it's great. And they came up for the first time. You for some reason you couldn't come to the friendly match.
My attendance at games is quite poor, actually. Ken's everywhere, home and away.
And essentially, what happened is that I sort of got chatting to a couple of the volunteers, and it sort of slipped out that I was kind of like involved in this project that Jonathan
the shadow,
made.
the puppeteer,
and all of a sudden,
Jonathan.
I got to appreciate all the kind of like first-hand appreciation. I was like, oh yeah, thanks.
You got all the beers, basically. But I think it did mean that there was a bit of and the groundhoppers picked up on it, and it kind of it was in social media a bit, and they could see the value and how that was being really positive, and I guess it got us through
the turnstile.
Through the turnstile. I wasn't going to use that, but I thought through the turnstile. And I guess, yeah, absolutely. Let's milk it. Then we kind of said, okay, so that was great, but how do we structure this to understand
make it sustainable, right? And
what's
really
the method? What's the kind of approach that we want to kind of undertake?
And I guess because we're kind of like approaching it as part of our kind of like it's a self-initiated job, a self-initiated project within our kind of professional practice.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to try and find some way to kind of like shape it in, make it look as professional as possible a project. Then kind of gives us agency to go talk on behalf of the club to potential, interested parties, sponsors, etc. And kind of like build that sort of like small PR machine about it. And also like, we always talk about kind of like the uniqueness of a story of a club in football. So like this kind of then gave us a bit of that we have this like unique element to bring forward, and both for us to kind of like riff off it, but also the club to be able to use it as that unique angle.
Yeah, a USP, right?
Yeah,
that's what that is. I
Yeah.
believe. So I guess we had these three prongs. We had like art and design, we had community and citizenship, and we had football. And not often do those three things come together, but usually somebody's interested in two of them.
Yeah.
Or like the other two.
Maybe
and you
they'll
can kind of
tolerate the third.
Yeah.
Well, I think you
great.
bring up there, though, Jonathan, with like the USP and using it kind of sarcastically, ironically. But that's something I wanted to get to because I think it's a philosophical discussion. But I think especially what you're talking about, the realities of non-league football. So there has to be, let's use another acronym, an ROI, right? What's the upside, or especially if someone's going to pay into this, if the club is sharing any resources, what is going to be that payoff? I think like being pragmatic about it, we have to kind of give that consideration in the type of like economic systems and things that we're working in with football to then give the opportunity for something like you guys are doing to come to life, right? So I think it's kind of interesting with that piece, and again, using words like brand, and I'm curious, like you've already talked about a little bit of the marketing of the project, of catching the eye of groundhoppers, having that shared on social, but how have you seen that like it's been a year roughly now, right? You guys have celebrated a year of the residence of a 3-year project. How have you maybe seen the role of the project when it comes to not only a bit of like the club identity, but you touch on the flags. That's part of maybe that match day experience.
Where to start?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot there. So club identity, match day experience, and then on the tail end of that, if we, it's almost like you focus on doing all of those things well, right? And obviously anybody can see just from the background, from checking out the club's social media, like you mentioned, the professional and the quality of the art is like the foundation of this, right? It's not just like, and you guys are fully committed, but then it's like, okay, well, like you said, you do want, there's the community piece of having people make sure that they know the club is there. And then obviously that's going to have some benefits on the balance sheet of like, hey, maybe we can, have lights. Maybe we can keep the club going. You know, like there's those real conversations, but it all starts with kind of the artistic work of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, when we going sort of back to the beginning, when we then proposed the residency, we had kind of like this list of projects that we went to the chair with.
Yeah.
And I think if we had to look back to that list now, it's just like it's so tiny and kind of just almost like it's kind of like one dimensional compared to like what we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a project that has it's become like a beast that we're just like within, and it controls us now.
Yeah.
It's like we're kind of like we sort of learned that I think for what we wanted to achieve, it could never just focus on one kind of output. It just needed us to be involved in like the social media and the comms and the sort of commercial side, trying to bring in mainly kind of like local businesses, to sort of appreciate this space as a community asset and kind of get involved and, so come with us on this kind of like crazy, like three journey sort of thing, see what happens at the end of it. We don't know. So like, we don't know. We haven't set ourselves any kind of targets in a sense.
Well, no, I think, but that's because it would be crazy to almost, because it is such a moving kind of structure. And we realize that, we've had intentions to do certain things and they have to shift because there's practical requirements or there's financial things. We're doing it voluntary without any, sustained income or revenue. So it has to be really shifting. And I guess we're desperate, absolutely fucking desperate. Sorry, I'm swearing, for it to work. Like, I think we're like overly invested, right?
Would you say at this point it's working in what you envisioned? Like, again, we're year one of 3.
Good question.
I mean, I guess again, the main issue is how you quantify success and what does that look like? Obviously, like it'd be amazing to have 350 people on a Saturday here. That is a quantifiable success rate. We haven't achieved that yet, but that'd be amazing.
Do you know do you know roughly what the average attendances are, just to give us an idea? Should have started with that, actually.
I mean, it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
So like just to give a bit of context in terms of where we are geographically, we're South Bristol, where quite a lot of fans that come to Brislington are also Bristol City or Bristol Rovers fans. So when there's like game clashes, we always lose some of those kind of season ticket holder of the larger teams. But like we started this season really well in attendance, over 200 people on home games, and then obviously it naturally dwindles towards like the colder, wetter months. And what we struggle with a lot is the fact that you get a proportion of games that maybe get postponed due to weather around kind of like December, January. So then that has a knock-on effect of us kind of like falling off people's radars on what to do on a Saturday.
The momentum. You lose a bit of that momentum.
So you start building the momentum, and then you get 5 away games in a row, like we did this year,
and they forget you're there.
Yeah, exactly. And then like postponed games, and it's just you have to kind of like start again. But I mean, that's one side of what success looks like. I think we like from a physical point of view, like you come up to the stadium or you chat to someone that was maybe here for a game 3-4 years ago, and then they've been here recently, and they're like, bloody hell, like that's already a success.
Yeah. And I think that like what's great at this level, which kind of alluded to earlier, is that you can do stuff. Like the impact is almost instantaneous. You can be given a key and we come up on a Friday and you can paint a thing, and by the next Saturday something's changed. And I guess within bigger organizations that we've worked with before, in our professional lives, that's just not a thing.
Yeah.
And you kind of get hit by all these buffers. So the impacts that we can make always feel really tangible, really like, well, not often attainable things, although putting in those bloody seats. We're just changing some seats in the grandstand, which is becoming it'll be brilliant. It'll be brilliant. But yeah, I think it's, when we get to like April's time, when we've got a backlog of games, there's then loads of games happening and there's loads of people coming in and they can rely on like fixtures being played and all of that kind of stuff. So it kind of, I guess the impact when we started and we approached the club, our like ethos was low cost, high impact. And I guess that's still one of the things that is prevalent in it. We are, it's all in-kind support. It's all generous donations from people and
reclaimed stuff,
literally things that people have chucked out of their car or van or whatever down the lane, and we've kind of taken them and gone, okay,
that's what I was going to ask, actually, because again, I'm always thinking, all right, people listening who might want to do something similar or like try to talk someone, maybe they don't have the artistic vision and skill, but talk someone into doing it in their community. Where is, we know it's a volunteer, so your time is all donated to the club, but the resource piece, is it all donated? Is it like, the clubs are like, hey, well, maybe we can take a little bit of this and we'll put into some, obviously, seats. I imagine it's hard to find if they're new. I don't know what that
they are definitely not
like.
new.
Okay. So
let's just say they're donated by a much bigger club.
Okay.
In the professional spheres
world.
Okay.
Yeah, which is great. And I think there is, when we have had bits of like research money, we've tried to target projects that will provide some kind of sustainable kind of content to them. So that might be making some of the merch, or it might be, which then will give us a little income stream coming back in so we can then use some other stuff. But 90% of it is finding stuff, checking our lofts, figuring if there's things
getting
that we don't have, or like, and I guess also there's been projects that we just haven't been able to do, which would be great to do, but we just haven't got and we kind of parked about 3,000 projects and we're working on 12 at the moment.
I know how that feels. Yeah.
Like we've had give Andy Stone a shout out.
Yeah.
He's a massive ground hopper in the kind of like southwest area, and I got chatting to him a few weeks ago, and I said, I really want to do this kind of like new club shop, but I'm struggling to find like timber supplies and stuff. And within kind of a couple of hours, he had replied saying, I sorted that out for you. And it's just
amazing.
Yeah, there's so much passion for like non-league and grassroots football. They're like, you just get help left, right, and center without, awesome. It's kind of like, and there is network around, like, the support for like a club like this is kind of like intergenerational. So there's loads of like people that have been linked to this club for ages, and if you kind of like ask for a bit of help, and people straight away just kind of, I know someone that can help us. Like Matt Luton, the manager, also managed to get us some supplies from his network to do the new changing rooms, which hopefully will happen the next couple of months as well. So it's just, most of it is kind of like,
and that's like community, right? And the community piece you're talking about, the kind of engagement. So everybody kind of sees a vision and what you guys are doing, and they trust in it and want to help with that. Let's talk some of the specifics. We put some out, but I want to give some specifics here. So you guys have done, obviously started with the flags, right? Currently working on the seats, which by the time this is out, you guys will be hopefully finished, right? You'll be all set with that.
If it's coming out in 5 years' time, yes.
Okay. You're going to have to extend the residence for that. Yep.
The chairman does ask us that quite often, to be fair.
There's always hints of us extending it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just see how it's right.
Which I guess going back to the success, I guess that is like probably the main point to like value as success, the fact that we're 1 year into a 3 year, and they already kind of hinted us like off the cuff, extending it. That's already success.
And you've already made it to Because Football. So that's
exactly. Peaked too soon.
Yeah, exactly. BBC, Because Football, and then after that, what are you going to do? The one I actually wanted to talk about, because if I'm reading it correctly from doing my research and checking out the socials and everything, so you had done kind of like a pop-up club shop residency show, right? Like, which I think looked really cool because it was this like, to me, it appeared like a mix of like a gallery and a little club shop / meeting space, but it seemed like that was kind of temporary. And now you're trying to transition that into what I think is, I could be off base, the Fox Den multi-use space. Is that right? Is that going to be, so the initial, this pop-up, I'm going to call it the pop-up, right? This club shop was not at the stadium. It was at another institution, right, in the city. And then now it looks like you're trying to make this more of a long-term. Talk us through kind of that piece, because I think that hits a lot of different of like all the things you're doing. It's a bit of the identity, it's the match day experience, but I think you guys brought in like over 500 pounds over 2 days or something in revenue from that. So talk us through that and kind of the vision for that project.
Well, so there's in kind of like the Brislington area, there's like an arts trail that happens every year, and where essentially there's kind of like quite a lot of locations you can kind of like trail across and see, kind of like artists, designers, and craft makers. So sell their wares in a sense over a weekend. And we were like, well, we're artists and designers.
We are.
And we're in BS4.
We are also.
Yeah.
Two things down.
Yeah. So why not kind of like, and because we have framed it as this like residency project, we're like, surely we also kind of like qualify to be there.
Yeah.
So like, let's just turn it into, this kind of like crazy space. And one of the locations is Senna's house. I happen to have my office / studio in the same building as well, so it's kind of like a creative building. I had a chat with them and said, like, can we have a space in there? You're going to be on the trail. Can we have a bit of a space to kind of turn this into like pop-up kind of, well, it started as a shop, and then all of a sudden like, let's take some bits from the stadium with us,
literally pulling down bits of the stadium as we kind of like put them in our pockets,
and a couple of the flags
and the club's like, wait, this is backwards, like you guys are supposed to bring that, now you're leading. What's going on?
we kind of like printed photos that, we try and like document a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So we printed out quite a lot of like the photos of us working in the space, and like photos that we took on like match day and that sort of thing. And all of a sudden it kind of turned into this, kind of like exhibition space with a shop in it. And we had like a small letterpress machine. We were printing season tickets there and then, and you could like take that with you home and that sort of thing. So, and it was amazing because over that weekend, I think there was a lot of kind of crossover of people from like two kind of like separate crowds that we now kind of like engage and interact with, kind of like a artist, designer, kind of like creative crowd, and then like the football crowd. And it was amazing to kind of like see that crossover in that space of like people that potentially had never really come to like a creative space like Senna's house. And then also like seeing people from the kind of like creative background sort of engage with the stuff, and almost kind of like admitting that they're kind of like,
football.
Like, I actually like football. But
not
like,
for anybody.
Yeah, it's like you're given the permission because you're doing it in your way. It's like a way to, okay. And I think that right there is also, again, I don't have the firsthand experience, but just like, when you imagine like the typical fan who's been going to Brislington for their entire life, is like not the same person as you imagine is showing up in the, on the artist trail, right? But I think that's so
exactly.
cool. Almost those opposites, those paradoxes in the way you guys are bringing everything together, I think is so cool. And it seems like going out, like obviously you're trying to curate the space at the stadium, but the amount of times I read through the website and you guys are handing out flyers, like what you guys really love giving out flyers, pounding the pavement. What is that? Cause you've obviously done a great job on the socials too, but what is that piece offer, do you think, in terms of, other than fitness, giving, really getting out to people again and crossing over into the non-typical football or existing Brislington base of people?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a struggle, isn't it? Like there's, how do you reach out to that kind of like local crowd? And obviously we could go, and if we could afford to spend, 500, 600 pounds on social media ads or something like that, then maybe we potentially would do that. But the kind of like hand to mouth, kind of like lo-fi nature of the project means that, boots on the ground sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was essentially a cheap option, and again, the big like cost was our time walking around, handing out, doing 40,000 steps a day round kind of the Brislington area, and hopefully not getting my hand bitten off by a dog and all of that stuff. So like, I think it's good to, again, it's putting the club back into a different space, like seeing something landing on your doormat, and that, I guess we weren't sure. Again, it's a bit of a low cost risk to see if people then return with those flyers. So those flyers had basically a free drink right at the bar behind us. So there was like an incentive.
Always a great incentive.
Come and check out a game, and it also allowed us to see how many people get some data back and understand what the impact was. Yeah, we flyered the arts trail as well. And again, that was a great thing for, even if they didn't buy some merch, which we tend to have as much more about, not necessarily football-y, but more like BS4-y, which is our postcode, or Brislington based. So it's not overtly football. It's just like, if you're into championing the area, get one of our tees. So like, I guess it was much more about, trying to get, even if they didn't buy one of those, you've got a free drink here, come down to a game. And for most people in that art context, it was a bit like us 5 years ago going, I've never been to a game. I've heard of the club, or I've got no clue that one even existed. So in both instances, it was kind of a winner in kind of creating that dialogue and getting people kind of talking about the club, I guess.
And then we kind of, at the same time, we had like a billboard campaign in Brislington. So like that was kind of like, again,
so cool,
using this angle of like celebrating the area rather than just the football club. It's kind of like, and then hoping that by osmosis, like people get interested, like who's advertising the area, or and then you get to sort of check out the club,
which again was a kind of supported it. We didn't have any money to take out a billboard campaign, so as part of one of the billboard companies, Build Hollywood, they've got a kind of arts, again, an arts kind of leaning section, Jack Arts, and that through the project we were able to get in there. If we were just a football club, it wouldn't have happened.
No.
But because we had this kind of this residency, and they could see the kind of context of that, it allowed us and the club to produce that piece of design and get that out there, which was great. That was another one where some of the committee were like, beyond our dreams to have like the club plastered on a billboard.
I was getting calls like, I just went past it. That's amazing.
which is really good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So it's been these like stages. First we're focusing on the club board leadership and the existing fans and the stadium itself, and you're trying to kind of grow those circles of impact out to the general community too. But obviously, like in this case, you guys are getting a lot of attention, not just for locally, right? Thanks to the power of our interwebs. And what have you seen, how has that kind of played into everything? Because I always think about that. I'm like, you guys are doing amazing work. And if you didn't document or share any of this, and it was only existing where it was, it would obviously still be a beautiful thing and have value. And luckily we have these tools that can kind of grow that, and there's a lot of opportunity from that. And obviously, given that, I'm a storyteller that uses YouTube and Instagram and all these things, I'm always curious about not just the thing itself, but how we tell the story about it. Right. And I think there's a lot of power in that. And then again, it comes back to how we can sustain things, how we maybe bring, if you have attention, you can typically get people who want to partner with you and sponsor you and tap into that audience you're creating too, or already have. So how is that kind of factored into everything? And what maybe opportunities have you seen just from sharing the story that way that maybe wouldn't have come about if it was limited to the stadium or even just BS?
I think it's like integral to everything that we're doing. I think, the fact that interest like brings more interest in. It's kind of like a knock-off effect. So I think that's like every link up with something, whether that's like coverage or maybe like a local company or a sponsor or something in kind donated from a company, we then kind of use that to bring in the next or to pitch the pitch that to the next next sponsor or next PR piece or etc. So, I mean, it's
always on a. I mean, I love my Fridays, right? So when we're here, it's like a great day, and I think there's a lot of random, very rich content just by us like
Absolutely.
faffing around in the
Yeah.
ground, doing stuff doing stuff really badly, and then it maybe all kind of it flips and it works really well, and we're super happy about. Like, there's a lot of humor in it, and a lot of idiosyncrasy and like bonkersness and like questioning and all of those things. I think they lend themselves really nicely to like storytelling and a narrative. But I'm also absolutely appalling at documentation, so that's great that Ken's done it and it's much better at that kind of stuff. So I
it's
guess
the reason why Jonathan gets to be on camera more than I am.
absolutely. Yeah.
He's just feigning that. He's like, no, I don't know how to use this. Just I'll just be the face.
Yeah,
I'll just be the personality.
Selfies. It's just all selfies of me. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's like an old school camera, which tells you everything you need to know. But I think that we were aware that it needed to happen. I guess going back to our practices as well as this being a project that we wanted to then like disseminate at the end, and how that is important to our wider kind of projects. So it was always an important part. But I think when we're able to demonstrate going back to impact, like what's happening, and the fact that of the 1,068 other clubs in the National League system, there are no other artists and designer in residence. Like that, just as a weird non-blueprinty thing, we could riff on.
Have you had? I'm curious. Sorry to cut you off. Have you had people reach out like, "Hey, I want to do this in my city or with my club"? Have you had other people, similar birds of a feather, who have been, "How do we get this going"?
In the last few months, we've had a bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's an interest in, because there isn't a blueprint. There's a blueprint if you're a big club with lots of money, and you probably then just make some paintings. But that takes
away a little bit. I think, like you guys are saying, the donation, the in-kind nature makes everything a lot richer, right? And especially because every project and advancement means so much because of the, like, let's call it like just the general state, the general lack of a lot of clubs at your level in National League, right? I was thinking now, I'm like, if a big Premier League club did this, it wouldn't. I mean, it would be cool, and it could still mean something for people. You could have great experiences, but there's not that like so little means so much element. I feel like that like outsize impact, if that makes sense.
But mainly, I guess, because it would in essence be a transaction, right? Because like the artist would be being paid and commissioned on a kind of like professional level, whereas us having taken that element out, then it just kind of it becomes something else and takes it to a different level, I suppose. But I think like going back to like how we document as well and how we try and use that, I think what we're learning, I mean, and maybe 1 year in is a bit too late, but we're always trying to improve stuff, and it's kind of like we learn as we go along. It's the kind of, I think what people find the most interesting in our project is the kind of the like slightly like scruffy side of it, of showing kind of like the silly moments on the Friday, the kind of like craziness of like coming up here and having to deal with seats that don't fit frames, and the kind of like behind the scenes nature of it. Because that's what's nice about non-league, is that it's not that polished sort of end product. And whilst it's kind of it's almost like I think what we're trying to create is almost like this kind of like fine line between polishing the social media, the comms, the match day experience, the stadium up, pushing that up to look more polished and professional, but then at the same time highlighting the fact that it isn't.
Smoke and mirrors, isn't there, really?
So
I think that you're totally right. Like the kind of, there's a lot of creative problem solving just in the day-to-day DIY-ness of it all. That's kind of one of the most exciting bits, I think. And it's something that people can gravitate towards and kind of appreciate. And I think, going back to the big football thing, it definitely wouldn't be there at the higher level. We've had people kind of ask us about Scunny, and
Jonathan nearly got pinched.
We've had a few points where we've been tapped up but I guess that shows that there is that interest in it, and it feels really relevant for a lot of clubs, and something that, yeah, like we said right at the start, is just such a beyond, comprehension, because everything is focused on that really day-to-day survival kind of thing. That, and a lot of the time, it's like literally some breeze blocks and some paint.
And then on another day, it could be us going to like a company in Bristol and kind of like do kind of like a high level pitch as if we're some sort of Premier League club.
Exactly.
And I guess there are different levels for different parts of the project, and I think that's, again, that keeps it really interesting and really exciting, and
Definitely.
and means that we're not, when it's, like I said at the start, it's like super multifaceted, right? It's got so many, and I think that's also what we didn't realize at the start.
No,
everything bleeds into everything else. So you just want to do this tiny thing, and then you just can see it before your eyes. Like, it's 2 months down the line, and we're going, oh God, are we going to hold that together? So, a lot of fun from that point of view.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to pause it real quick. My wife just walked in. I actually want to introduce you guys, and one second. She's actually going to need to pass behind so she can come into the rest of our house. So this is just practical. But here, 1 second.
Oh, we haven't done our switch.
Oh yeah, we haven't.
God, should we do the switch now?
No, I guess he's
halfway in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that works.
Is it time for a beer yet? Really cold.
Yeah, it's also, look at the weather. And we leave tools out.
I've left the extension. Fuck.
Nah, I was.
Most of the stuff's on the. 40's still there.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
You all right?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
This is my wife, Bryn. We can thank her for our conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for hooking us up.
Yeah, no problem. I was like, oh, you should definitely talk to these guys. Like, so I'll be excited to listen to the episode. I wasn't here, so yeah, it's really cool what you guys are doing. And where are you guys exactly again?
Bristol.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, super nice to meet you. I'll be excited to watch the episode, and really glad you guys got to connect.
Yeah, thank you very much for finding us. You're the scout, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
Yeah, that's me. I also give myself credit too for his first big collab with his team Port Vale too. I was like, why don't you just like reach out to them and see if they'll do anything? And then 2 big episodes and partnerships later, I think that I'm the starter because football. That's all I gotta say.
The brains behind it all, of course. Yeah.
Oh, all right, guys. Take care. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So I'm thinking. I'm gonna put this back in here. Thinking. Kind of just starting to wrap a little bit. I'm curious. I think the question I'd like to ask is like, what's been like the thing that's been easier or has come smoother than you expected, and what's been the thing that's actually been like more difficult? And it might not just be one thing in particular. It could be, many facets, or just a general nature. But I think that's the question. So I'm going to tee you up for that in a second here. I've been eyeing up this Clementine for an hour, so it's exercising willpower. All right.
Just wait until there's like a forklift just going past the clubhouse at the minute. So.
Of course.
Intermission.
Just a random forklift going past. Okay. From one of the opposition teams, I reckon, coming to hijack.
Yeah, they're trying
our
to
efforts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Run over the pitch, donuts in the pitch with a forklift. There's not much more vindictive action you can get at non-league. Outrageous behavior.
The hardest thing so far.
Yeah. So what would you say now we're a year in? Yeah, what's been the thing that's been more difficult than expected, right? And I think probably a big part is that the project's grown, like you said. It's really evolved. Maybe that's happened faster than expected, but yeah, what's been the bigger challenge, and then what's maybe been a little bit easier than expected or come smoother or more naturally?
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess the biggest challenge. I think you're probably right, like managing our maybe our expectation, because we want to do so many things, and like just figuring out how we can facilitate all of that stuff is often quite, there's a lot of funding applications that don't get done, or trying to figure things out, or ways that we can angle certain parts of the project, or all of that. There's fantastic support from people who've kind of supported the project and donated things and all of that, but it is often, I think, that's the thing that's alongside the bleeding of everything, and it all kind of becoming just a massive ball of, well, sometimes a beast. I think they're like the two things, that just the time that it takes to try and figure out how we can do something is like really fucking frustrating sometimes, and kind of annoying, because we're here with our energy going, come on, let's just get this thing done, and we just can't. We haven't got that. And I mean, and for me, I think the easiest thing is just hanging out on a Friday, having a nice time. That's like super easy. It's
like a third space.
It's like it's proper therapy. It's like really, when it's not even when it is pissing it down, but like, you're just here, we're on the edge of the city, there's beautiful landscapes, we're, doing stuff with a football club. Like, it's just amazing. And I think that's a very selfish, actually, I think, because it's about me. It's not about me. Not about how I feel about the project.
Well, it does have to be at some point, Jonathan, so that you want to do this.
I guess
general,
it means
right?
that I feel okay about the next 2 years, right?
You're allowed to enjoy.
Actually, I could do that, and that sense of like momentum and sustainability, I think, is important.
I think what's also been easier than maybe we expected is the buy-in from everyone. So, like there's probably a hidden WhatsApp somewhere, and loads of people are saying loads of bad stuff about us, and we're gonna get axed soon. We don't know. But as far as we know, the buy-in's been great.
Yeah.
And, from like the first team manager, Matt's been, like there's been kind of like this crossover of kind of stuff happening off the pitch.
Yeah.
In a sense, kind of like bleeding into how like the technical side of the club feel about, being at the club, and even, so always kind of like buy-in of new players coming into the club as well, because they can see there's kind of like a, an upward sort of, feel about the club, and, there's kind of like a long-term project emerging. And so I think the buy-in from everyone in the club has been maybe easier than we expected. I mean, I don't think a year ago we thought we'd be like invited to attend the committee meeting. It's like,
absolutely.
Maybe that we thought maybe there would be a slightly shallower kind of like journey to sort of getting buy-in, and basically then the project's kind of like escalating in terms of like scale, and like us pitching ideas that might sound crazy. Yeah. But because we have sort of like gradually delivered on the commitments,
built
then
the trust,
they're like,
exactly,
we trust them. Yeah, exactly. To push this forward. So,
and I think possibly what's also been really nice and satisfying is the kind of level of what we've ended up achieving.
Yeah.
And I think the committee also thought maybe it'd just be quite, like an art school project kind of thing.
A mural,
a mural, which is, I guess, a classic football thing. And then they've turned up and we've done something, and they're like, fucking hell, like, like in a really lush, positive,
and tangible stuff as well.
Yeah, really difficult to put in a box, but it's just, that's great. I know, and then it just galvanizes you to do more, essentially. So they're obviously playing us like absolute fools.
No, but I think that, like, and obviously we have this kind of like art and design residency aspect, but I think what maybe has helped that sort of level of trust is the fact that potentially in a lot of these clubs at this level, you get commitment from volunteers, and that's a long-term commitment, but then it's quite hard, I think, or it has great impact when new people come in with maybe like a new level of energy, with like some new ideas. It doesn't have to be like a creative project. It could just be like anyone can sort of, if they want to commit a certain amount of volunteering, that energy then kind of like it's something that becomes an energy shared across the board with all the other volunteers. So it just kind of like lifts and gives that extra push in a sense. So maybe I think that's maybe where that kind of like the return for us is the fact that they now trust us to push it even further and go further with it. So.
Yeah. And I think the a couple things stand out with what you're all doing is that not only is like it just looks great, like the quality of your work is really excellent, and it has function, and you can just sense kind of like the heart and the feel underneath everything, and it's a part of sharing, right? Doing something beautiful to share it with others. And I think that a lot of people like recognize that and tap into that. And can you make that interesting point with kind of rejuvenating maybe the club, right? Like not only doing it visually, but coming in with some fresh energy. And again, like you guys are just trying to make it happen with donations and with in-kind gifts and time. And it's like, so what can you really say if you guys are doing good work and not like taking away at all and only adding, it's a great, I think that's a key part for people listening that sticks out to me is like, if you want to try to recreate this type of thing, maybe just do it like Jonathan, so you can be tapped up and do a Bosman transfer to another bigger club and get a nice payday. Got 2 days left in the transfer window. So good luck.
My agent's not working very well at the moment.
We've had some agents on the pod before, so we could maybe make some connections for you.
Oh, that'd be useful.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I'm looking here at the shop. I'm not going to share it because it doesn't usually look that. Actually, I'm going to share it. Hold on. I've got to do it. So what's cool about the shop not only is that you've got, and this is new as well, right? You guys helped, actually the whole website was part of this, I think.
Yeah, Ken
so
did the whole thing.
Yeah, you got the site. So you can give it, if you guys are listening and want to support, you can pick up a tee. Because I was looking at the one that Ken's wearing, right? That just got the. Or no, this is the different one. This is the other 3 boxes I saw.
Yeah,
season ticket, so £108 for the season ticket. So what?
It's the best value you get.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing, isn't it, about non-league is that it's
such good value.
It's great value.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, so I'm wearing the red.
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're watching, £12 and
bargain, absolute bargain. What a steal!
It's a steal.
Limited edition tees.
Yeah, we've got loads of new merch coming out as well. So
it's awesome.
In the next few months, and very excited about this. I think as a graphic designer, being involved in designing a custom kit is like up there. So we're going to be designing the year anniversary kit for the next season. So that's going to be that's a fire.
Yeah, literally one of the projects that we can't put onto the side. That's like
that has
front and center
ASAP. Sort of started that process. Yeah. So we've been sort of looking at some of the history of the club and some of the old kits that they've done over the years. So that's going to be fun.
Cool. Yeah, it's been amazing, Ken and Jonathan. Let's move here to our all-time five-a-side. We thought we were having good banter. Yes. We're gonna get into that now.
We discussed this. Like we obviously need to be in it, so that takes 2 spots already, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so
you had someone.
Well, I've got one. I've got one player who's basically my favorite ever footballer. He would be awful as a five-a-side player because he'd just boo it out of the pitch. But Ugo Ehiogu, so I'm an Aston Villa fan, and Ugo Ehiogu was my no nonsense central defender from I guess when I was growing up, and I modelled myself on him, and all of that kind of stuff. So he'd be my number one.
So
incredibly long strides.
Yeah.
I mean, you've covered the pitch in like three strides. So he would be like he'd be anti five-a-side, but he's my number one, so I've got to go for him.
Yeah, I've got a player in mind. So I'm an Inter Milan fan, and Javier Zanetti would be my pick.
Okay.
Apart from being a great footballer, and always enjoyed watching him play, but also his loyalty to the club. So apart from basically he was bought as a youngster for Inter, and basically just did the whole career there as captain. Yeah. So I'm a sucker for someone that sticks with a club through thick and thin. So good.
Very defensive
not a
side. You're
keeper.
gonna have anyone.
My keeper. Can I be the keeper?
Oh yeah, are we doing keeper in this?
So keeper is always a philosophical choice. To me.
Fly keeper then. Ugo Akio can be fly goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. So you got the 40. And Ken, are you more of a defender? Or are you going to be up top? Are you going to be midfield? Where are you putting yourself?
I think this is all defense.
Yeah,
we'll have one. We could maybe have one, one attacking player and four defenders.
Shall we go with?
Yeah.
So who's your one goal scorer? Who are you taking to do all
the
of the
ultimate goal
work?
Scorer? Ronaldo, R9. Just stick him up
Incredible.
front, let him do the magic. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, that would be really good. Just a strong back four.
You're literally just going to link arms. It's going to be like kicker, right? Like foosball. You're just going to be like literally one line and just smash it forward.
Just enjoy Ronaldo up front, just scoring beauties.
That's the kind of football you get in non-league. You know, crazy formations, insane. You know, the risk is not a thing. You know, just go for it. Do what you want. So I guess we're embodying that, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome, lads. Last question here. Because Football Podcasts, I'm going to give each of you. Ken, I'm going to go with you first. I'm going to put you on the spot first. And then Jonathan, you've got it second.
God, I don't know.
We kind of had almost come up with one together. So,
okay. All right. If you want to go together, that would make sense. But yeah, because football. Finish the sentence. Because football.
I can't remember what we said.
Well, we said because football unifies. Yeah. So it kind of I think it sort of embodies what we're trying to do and where we've come from so far in this journey. Yeah. The fact that you can have loads of people from kind of different backgrounds and with kind of different values and objectives in life, and you can find common ground in something like this. And I've made friends with people at the club that I wouldn't have met otherwise, and kind of social circles and stuff. So I think football unifies.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Agreed. And it speaks to, like we said, all the elements, the factors, the levels of the project you guys are doing. It speaks to that as well, right?
I think those different spaces and
bringing everything. That's awesome. I love it. I'm the amount of times I haven't quite gone as far as doing the actual Google flight search. However, I'm hey, all right, I'm coming over in May. How long does the season go? Because I'll be over probably around the 14th, mid-May, going over to see friends and things, but I might have to not tell.
Well, I think in May season will be over.
Right. Probably. Probably miss it by a couple of weeks, unless playoffs maybe.
Unless something major happens.
I mean, that would be great. That's
work in progress.
Fantastic, Andrew. Let's go with that. We're going to get to the playoffs. Fine. I'll take that now.
I was more thinking maybe pre-season friendlies.
Season
starts quite early, end of July. So there might be some pre-season happening earlier than that.
It kind of depends on the backlog of games as well.
We've got 4 or 5 games that have been postponed so far. So
the weather. Yeah.
There'll be a couple of weeks at the end of April where we'll play 4 games in a week.
Yeah. I think that there's been a few times like that. And, I guess that, again, that's great because there's just players who are, the club are in quite a large league. It kind of goes all the way down to the bottom of Cornwall, and we're kind of up at the top in Bristol. So there's a few hundred miles of traveling. But then you've got to play, 5 games in 10 days, and you think, and then you see Pep on the telly kind of complaining he's had to play 3 games in, in 3 weeks, and you're like, well, this is, the kind of, I guess, the different worlds within football. But there's quite a lot of games. Yeah, I don't know if it'll get to that point.
We'll make it happen at some point.
Yeah.
Because I think non-league in general is something I love and want to really get to explore more with our storytelling. There's so many great options, and I think kind of the dynamic of putting a yank in the middle of all of that could be fun. I think there's a lot of recipes for some good times there. But Ken and Jonathan, thank 100%. You guys so much for being here. We've got all the links in the description. So for the socials, especially the club shop, but I loved it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. That's great.
Keep up the great work. We will be watching all the way through year 3, as long as Jonathan doesn't get coaxed away. Tempted?
I just handed my resignation letter or something. I want to be free transfer. I don't know. No. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be great next few years. A lot of projects still to do. Lots of things to kind of
loads of new ideas.
Loads of new ideas. I think that's also the thing. We can't stop having the new ideas, which is great most of the time.
Exactly. Exactly. It's how you know you're in the right place. It's how you know you're doing the right thing and in the right spot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant. To everyone listening and watching, thank you all for being here. If you're not a designer or an artist, maybe you can convince some in your community to come support your football club, your soccer team, whatever it is in that way. I think it's awesome. I hope we see many more clubs and organizations taking on similar projects. There's so much in this conversation, and we appreciate you all being here. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.